Please be sure to turn on your microphones prior to speaking to allow the audience and home viewers to be able to hear your questions and discussion. I will call the meeting to order. So this is the Historic Preservation Commission beginning at 7 p.m. Olivia or Terry, well, probably Terry, right? Terry, would you please take roll of the members that we have present?
Mr. Hayes,
Here.
Ms. Holliday,
Here.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Here.
Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Mr. Shepherd,
Here.
Ms. Urban,
Here.
and Mr. Weiss.
Here.
Thank you, Terry. Are there any changes to the agenda as currently published? That might be for you, Olivia.
There are no changes to the agenda as published.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, we will not be approving any minutes from prior meetings today, so we're going to go ahead and skip that portion. Yeah. We're going to go straight to written communications. I believe, Olivia, you have an update for that?
Yes, we received 3 emails, which I will summarize. The first email was provided by Kathleen Jones regarding the project at 108 North Weber Street. This is an update on the project status, which has been moving slowly, but once plans are put in writing, she will put together an application and keep the commissioners informed. The second email that was received was from Amy Rickman regarding the Urbana street naming project. So Ms. Rickman addressed the city council and also the commissioners. It was her understanding that the November 5th, this was a mistake, commission meeting, Historic Preservation Commission meeting would consider the Urbana street naming project. However, the November 5th meeting was canceled, so that correspondence was later provided to Ms. Rickman, and she was invited to this meeting tonight. The third email that was received was from Councilmember Christopher Evans, also regarding the Urbana street naming project. Mr. Evans has brought sort of attention to the Urbana street naming project and is hoping that members of the public may address the Historic Preservation Commissioners on this topic. There will be, of course, time during the public, I believe there will be time during the course of this agenda to hear that if anyone from the audience is here with those specific concerns. I will also, in my staff report, address the Urbana street naming project as well.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.
All right, now it's time for audience participation. Does anyone in the audience want to address the Historic Preservation Commission on any topic? And if you do, please, you're welcome to step up. Each person is allowed 5 minutes of uninterrupted time to speak on any topic. And no replies, comments, or questions from the commission members will be made at that time. Sir, please state your name and where you live. Sorry, there should be a button, and that should make a green light. And that's so the audience at home can hear you
Okay.
on the TV.
One more time. My name is Bob Ward. Everybody hear that? I'm proud and honored to be here representing my family, present back here, and they are my family by virtue of my close association with Mr. L.C. Owens. I've handed you this pamphlet, and we're here to request your kind consideration on a street naming project in his honor. That pamphlet is full of testimonial letters. Mr. Owens, L.C. as we affectionately called him, was a lifelong Urbana resident. He lived and breathed Urbana. He loved Urbana. You will find in there that he was very proud to play on the 1964 football team from Urbana that won the conference championship that year. His notable contributions to the city of Urbana were the fact that he knew from very early on the need to reach back and to pay back. And a biblical verse on that is, to whom much is given, much will be required. L.C. lived that every day. He held holiday soup kitchens where he fed the needy. He helped raise donations throughout the community to fund projects like that. He was a member, and he kind of spearheaded the Daily Bread Project for 25 years, delivering bread to the needy in the community. So he was all about the community and all about the city of Urbana. And we thought a very fitting memorial for him would be some kind of a memorial project out there, or maybe something like naming a street after him. And that's what we're here about this evening. Anybody have questions?
We're actually not allowed to comment at this time,
I see.
so we're just receiving your information.
Okay. So if you,
Thank you, sir.
okay, thank you.
The green light is on. Oh, Lord.
Hello, ma'am. Please state your name and your location. Thank you.
My name is Benita Rollins Gay, and I'm here on a street naming project for Janice Mitchell. She owns the Neighborhood Community Center. I'm a social worker with Rosecrans. I see over 3,000 people who all know Janice Mitchell. She's helped a lot of my clients, the underprivileged. She did this out of passion. Janice died of cancer, and the last time she was writing a grant on the bed when she was hospitalized for these children. The remarkable challenges is that we want to see the children know right now who Janice Mitchell. I'm into, Barbara Mason does a lot of historical and African American culture. And we feel like all of us in the area that our kids need to recognize people who have done things for them. And Janice has given over 1,000 computers to kids, took them on college trips, and believe it or not, we've got TV broadcasters, we got 3 going to law school, and these are kids that would have never gone. She has done a lot of parenting classes. I was on Urbana School Board for 14 years. She established a lot of things at the schools for the kids. And I just don't want her to be forgotten for all that she has done. And I know it was brought to you all attention. I know they bought LC's name back, 2023, but it was brought to my attention because a lot of signs are going up around Champaign about some people, but this girl put everything she had into these kids. She died doing for these kids. And the kids have come to me. Right now, I could go in the community and get 1,000 signatures in Urbana for Janice Mitchell. Her background, she's a veteran. She's a social worker. She's very involved in her church besides the community. And I learned a lot from Janice. And her contributing factors is she never said no. I'd call her in the middle, because I deal with homicide and suicidal children. I call her in the middle of the night, they need a bed. She'd bring a bed. She'd get me a bed. I don't know where she'd get them from. This family needs food. That's why these kids are acting up in school. She was able to go out here and recognize. And I think if we had something that showed who she was and what she did, it would reach some of these children, because community center is packed with children and with volunteers. And it is so, so needed to have that street named after Janice Mitchell. So that's what I'm coming to you all about, because Urbana is, I'm an Urbana person. Even though I had to move to Champaign, I'm still Urbana. I graduated, all my kids came out of Urbana. After college, they just didn't come back, but they'll say they're Urbana children. And one of the things I can say, we all appreciated Janice Mitchell. And I don't know anybody sitting here that don't know Janice Mitchell. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you very much.
Good evening. Just please state your name beforehand and possibly your location if you want.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Owens, and I'm a Urbana resident. And I'm here on behalf of Lawrence Owens for a street name. I'd like to read some stuff to you. Lawrence, affectionately known as LC, Big Daddy, was born in Mississippi, but moved with his family to Urbana at the age of 3. He attended Urbana schools, graduating with the class of 1965 as a proud Tiger. He played football and was a member of the 1964 Big Ten 12 championship. His love for Urbana athletes never failed him. He remained a loyal fan even up to his passing, often cheering from the end zone. After high school, Lawrence built a career at the University of Illinois, where he worked faithfully for 32 and a half years, retiring in 2002. After receiving the Chancellor Distinguished Staff Award in 1999, his greatest was his service to children, family, and the Urbana community. He coached Pee Wee football, the Golden Bears, for 20 years, mentoring countless young athletes, including some who became leaders, such as the current athletic director of Urbana Schools, Steve Waller, if you know him, Kurt Apperson with the Sheriff's Department. He has lawyers, one of the Greens. I mean, several people. If you want to, find more information out about them, you could contact them. He also, he served as a cook for Community Elements Teen Mom Program, offering meals encouraging to young mothers, was honored with his wife by King School PTA, started our own daycare in 1993, the Owens Family Connection. We fostered over 250 children, earning recognition as Foster Parents of the Year in the state of Illinois in the year of 2000. Faithfully served at Salem Baptist Church for decades, helping run the soup kitchen for 18 years, leading multiple ministries and joyful cooking for the community programs. Earned the nickname the Bread Man for his commitment for delivering bread to families in need and at the daily soup kitchen. His love for people, especially children, was unmatched. He never met a stranger. He encouraged young men to always strive for more knowledge because the knowledge you obtain, no one can take it away. His impact was so profound that over 700 people attended his homegoing service, a true reflection of lives he touched in Urbana. Given this extraordinary legacy of service to Urbana schools, the athletic, foster youth, church, and the wider community, I am asking that the city consider naming a street after and in his honor. Such recognition would not only pay tribute to his memory, but also inspire future generations to live the life of service, mentorship, and community care. I would be grateful for the opportunity to provide any additional information or meet with your office or anyone to discuss this further. Thank you for kindly considering this tribute to my husband's legacy of faith, service, and love of Urbana. Thank you. And we have 4 generations that have went to Urbana schools too. So we've been in Urbana. He had been in Urbana for 73 years. He's Urbana residents.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing.
Thank you. Oops, stuck. All right now. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janice Nance. I'm the daughter of Janice Mitchell, whom you've heard quite a bit about tonight. I want to first, as I did at the city council meeting, I want to first turn to Miss Benita Rollins-Gay and say thank you again, openly as I have done privately, just for bringing this to the forefront and bringing this before members of this council. What I want to say about my mother, we could be here all day. We don't have all day, we don't have all night. But what I will say is I did grow up watching and having a firsthand seat to the service that Mom did for so many in the community. Her weekends were sacrificed. We were delivering furniture to families. We were hopping off the back of trucks. We were dropping off wedding cakes. We were, I grew up between Cunningham Children's Home, where she was a supervisor for many years, and my pre-adolescent years were spent at the Regional Office of Education, running around that building. The military chemical unit, 386 unit on Main Street. She was the captain of that unit for many years. Years went by, she started working for Urbana School District after being a parent volunteer for many years, hosting programs like Brothers and Sisters, Sisters and Me, the Parent Initiative, PI, Parents Investing in Education. Then she went on and founded the UHS Social Justice Club. She started Sankofa Summer Exposures, and then later was able to found the center, Urbana Neighborhood Connection Center, right up the street from our home and the unit that she was a captain of in the military. So the center now hosts 5 core programs that support 65 youth on average throughout the school year and 80 youth during the summer. And those 5 core programs are our after-school program, which many of us are rushing over here from, our after-school program, our intensive literacy program, college and career readiness program, summer youth employment program, and summer enrichment program. So these 5 programs have fed hundreds of children. They have transported hundreds of children, and all through the vision of my mom and through the leadership capacity that she had. And so when we were told by members of the city council that it would be a good idea to bring this initiative forward to the Historic Preservation Council, we thought it appropriate to come and speak with you all and just, put it out there that our support for Ms. Benita's vision for the honorary street naming program, similar to what Champaign and other communities have. I would be beyond honored to have my mother and Mr. L.C. Owens, who I knew growing up and was just a phenomenal human being, be the 2 of the first people that we think of and and look at, if it is considered, doing an honorary street naming program, just for all that they poured into this community, its young people, its families. And so I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity for us to come before you and to speak on the support for this initiative, our love for my mom, not just personal love, but for her as a professional, a go-getter, a ceiling breaker. So, my hope is that there will be some serious consideration taking into starting an initiative as this, because every initiative has started somewhere with a simple idea and a push. So we thank you for, again, your time and your consideration. If ever I can do anything else to expand this thought or to, give further information as to why we as a community, we as her family would support this initiative, or, we think that she would be an ideal candidate, or Mr. LC would be an ideal candidate, please do feel free to reach out to me. Our information is on my website, but I will give you my cell phone number and we can chat it up. So again, thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Could you fill out that form before you go?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And thank you, ma'am, for sharing. Do we have anyone else from the audience?
Good evening, Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you so much for your service. And first, I just want to say it's exciting to be here tonight, where there is so much civic energy in the room. Really excited to hear about these street naming initiatives. I'm here. My name is Joseph Altschuler. I am an Urbana resident, a proud Urbana resident, and a parent of two kids in the Urbana Public Schools. And I am here wearing my hat as an architectural designer and educator at the University of Illinois, who is really interested in the future of this city, in the public realm, and in the heritage of historic buildings in this city. And it's recently come to my attention that the historic building survey for the city of Urbana is not up to date to the 50-year rule of buildings to be considered. And so I'd like to request to the Historic Preservation Commission that we consider updating that survey and really looking closely at buildings that are from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s as part of the historic significance of this place and part of what gives this city its distinctive sense of place. I think, as you know well better than me, it's so often buildings that are, just over that 50-year mark that are most at risk of demolition or most at risk of being lost from public memory because they are not quite old enough that that sometimes the popular imagination recognizes them as historically significant, and yet they're old enough that they face disrepair or deferred maintenance or other issues that make them undesirable. And to this end, I'd be remiss not to mention that I've come today directly from an end of semester design presentation from my students at the University of Illinois in the School of Architecture. My students this semester, these were the third-year undergraduate students, were working in partnership with community members and with some folks from the city and importantly, some folks from the MTD to look at the Urbana Civic Center site, which is a building that certainly fits within this time period I'm mentioning. This building was built in the late 1960s, and it was dedicated on May 3rd, 1970. And as many of you may well be aware, it's very likely that this building will be demolished, and as it's eyed as a site of a future bus station for the MTD. And I will also say I strongly support there being a new central bus station on or near this site, I think it's a good thing for everyone, and I support that vision. I asked my students to consider different scenarios of adaptive reuse for this building as part of a future that does think of that site as a site for a dedicated bus station for the MTD, but a development that would also incorporate some amount of adaptive reuse of that historically significant building. And it was, I think, really energizing today to see the students' many different ideas, some more conservative, some really wacky and goofy, and everything in between. And to see the conversations that were sparked between folks in the MTD, folks in the city, and architects. There was also regional architects and landscape architects that were part of the conversation. And I think that, again, I'd just like to ask the Historic Preservations Commission to consider this kind of important piece, this important missing piece of our kind of broader collective stock taking and records. And one that I will also offer, just as a local educator, resident, and neighbor interested in these issues, that I also want to just offer my my capacity to help partner with the city, to help partner with the historic preservation. Historic preservation is not specifically my area of expertise, but it is an issue I care about very deeply, and it's one in which I also think partnerships with the university and the city can help do some heavy lifting in terms of some of the work that needs to be done, and in fact some of the work that's already being done that can be, I think, a more centered part of the city's records and the city's future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sage Williams, and I am also here for Miss Janice Nance's mother, Janice Mitchell. I am one of the hundreds of thousands of kids that she helped throughout her lifetime. I was in the foster care system, and I went to Thomas Paine Elementary, then to Urbana Middle School and Urbana High School, and I graduated. And I went to the center as a youth, and seeing her mother's capacity as a social worker just inspired me to want to help people. And I started out just in the after-school program, then transitioned to the college and career readiness program, where they help you step by step fill out your FAFSA, just gain the skills you need to go to college as someone who that was never even considered a possibility in their family. After going through that, I graduated from Illinois State University with my bachelor's of social work and was pushed by her mother to do my master's of social work, and I was able to achieve that. And now I've gone back to the center to work as a primary staff throughout the school year and during the summer. So I just wanted to give a short testimonial of just the lives that are touched, because it is being talked about in the abstract of these hundreds of thousands of kids that she's helped mentored and helped work with. But these are lives that she has touched, and I am the result of just her spark in her life. And I think that the least we can do is name a street after someone who was so impactful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have anyone else?
Yeah, don't be shy.
My name's Che Orozco, and to also speak of Janice Mitchell, I am the brother of Sage William, and right when COVID started, I was looking for a job, and I got an opportunity to work at Urbana Neighborhood Connection. And part of the problem with COVID was children who are struggling with reading and writing and with math, when you take away that one-on-one help to help them progress in their development, it's stunted growth. You've seen through the countless surveys and papers that have been pushed out since then about students who they're below grade level, past grade level, and COVID is often cited as an issue of why. Well, during COVID, Janice Mitchell, she was sick, and she kept the center open, found ways to make sure that it met all the guidelines, the protective barriers, the sanitizer, the mask, everything that needed to get done, so that these children would not fall farther behind, that they would have help, and that they would be able to keep up with their grades. And doing things like that, like our kids that we had in COVID are not as far behind as they possibly could have been had she not taken those steps to make sure that they were able to get the education they needed to. And in addition to helping, you know, the older kids get into college, she helped make sure these younger kids did not fall behind during COVID. So that's just what I needed to say.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? Okay, and as I mentioned in the beginning, the commissioners here, we're not allowed to reply, comment, or ask questions during the audience time. But I just want to say the strength, the courage that you've brought here, all of the topics you brought up is very important to us. We take this very seriously. We will work with staff to see how best we can incorporate this into our agenda so that we can formally speak about it, ask any questions, and I imagine perhaps voting at some point. So please know that all of your comments were well received and heard, and we value your being here and taking the time to really support this community. Okay, I'm gonna move on here. There are not any continued public hearings. We do not have any unfinished business. There are, let's see, there is a new public hearing. Olivia, do you want to speak to that? Okay, thank you.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Olivia Jovine. I'm the Director of Community Development Services here with the City of Urbana. In the absence of a fully onboarded planning staff, I will be presenting the case this evening. We also have members of the First United Methodist Church in the audience who will be able to speak to the petitioner portion of the public hearing. All right, so Reverend Robert Freeman has submitted an application to designate the First United Methodist Church located at 304 South Race Street as a local historic landmark. The Historic Preservation Ordinance requires that the Historic Preservation Commission hold a public hearing on the application within 60 days of receiving that. The application was received and deemed complete on October 30th of this year. And the Urbana zoning ordinance provides the City of Urbana with the authority to designate local historic landmarks. Moving on to the nomination and background on the property. The church is being recognized for 5 of 7 landmark criteria, which has been described in the application and provided in detail in your packets. Staff finds that the nomination meets criteria A, C, E, F, and G, and recommends that the church designate the church is designated as a historic landmark. And I will describe those 5 criteria in the following slides. So criteria A, which is up here on the slide, I'm not going to read the whole criteria, but to respond to how this particular property meets that designation. The church is a good example of Gothic Revival architecture. It was built in 1927. The building features include its open-work limestone bell tower, its Gothic Revival stained glass windows and stonework, pointed arches, steep gabled roof, and impressive monumental staircase. There's a second-floor sanctuary as well, and it has a gabled roof covered in red tiles, which you can see in the photo here. It was also found that the addition to the church's southeast corner here, which holds a children's nursery, does not detract from the overall appearance or integrity of the church and the Gothic Revival work. And I will also mention that although the architect of the church is not well known, He was, his name was W.M. Maxwell, and he was a graduate of the University of Illinois Architecture program, and he was a member of the church, so there is some local context there. Moving on to criteria C. The building's Gothic Revival design, quality craftsmanship, and use of materials make it a distinctive example of its era, while its strong structural and visual integrity provide valuable insight into the community's history. Moving on to criteria E. The church's prominent and familiar visual features are well known in the community, reinforced by its prominent location in downtown Urbana. It's also it's hard to miss. It's also connected to the Lincoln Square Mall and its neighbors to the north, sort of echo the architectural prominence. We've got the Urbana Free Library, which is a well-known destination, and of course, the Hotel Royer. And criteria F. The building is a utilitarian structure, meaning it was designed mainly for practical use rather than purely decorational. Despite that, it has a high level of integrity. Its original design and materials are well preserved today, and the architectural significance of it as a Gothic revival, an example of a Gothic revival style. So, of course, because of these features, it stands out as a rare and unique example of a functional building that also has that artistic and architectural value.
Olivia,
Yes.
maybe I want to ask Angela a question. Do you want to make a comment about the presentation that was offered by the community input? We're not able to make any kind of decision about it tonight because it's not on our agenda as a topic for discussion. Do you want to let the people here know when it might be, or because I think they're waiting to find out if we're going to make a vote on or make some kind of comment? So it might be good to clarify what we're going to be doing for the rest of the meeting.
Sure. Right, yeah, we're not allowed to comment on the audience participation now. We already mentioned that. But I believe our next meeting will be February, because our January meeting falls like on the holiday. So likely the next one will be February. And so I think that's when we'd be able to incorporate an actual potential discussion or study session or voting at that meeting regarding the honorary streets, and also perhaps a study session on, like you mentioned, the Civic Center. This has come up to us in the past as well, and so it is very important to us as well to be able to discuss that in a formal way.
And would it be necessary for the city council to create a street naming project before we could, make any kind of recommendation? Or do you want to make a recommendation?
Yeah, I don't know that the city council would decide that first. We would probably request it to the city council.
Oh,
But
because it's already
we'd have
come to the city council.
verify that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So just for the audience's awareness, the remainder of this meeting will be dedicated to the current case, which is the potential local historic landmark designation of the First United Methodist Church. So if that is not of interest to you, you are welcome to stay, but you are also welcome to depart. We welcome you to stay, but I will continue my presentation, and then we will open the public hearing for the remainder of the evening. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
The church has been here longer, but that building was erected in 1827.
Okay, so continuing with the presentation, I will move on to criteria G, which is the final criteria to discuss this evening. According to the applicant, the church building is not only served as a place of worship, but on many occasions has also served as a community meeting place for civic and religious purposes. During the civil rights movement, the third floor of the building was used as a gymnasium and indoor basketball court that was frequently used by African American and Black members of the community. Given the civil rights movement was in full swing throughout the 1960s, this space was seen as a safe space for youth in the community. This evening, the commission has several options. The first of which is to find that the nomination meets one or more of the criteria for designation as a local landmark and approve the application as to designate the property as a local landmark, or to find the nomination does not meet any of the criteria for designation and deny the application. In either case, the Historic Preservation Commission should include findings of fact in their motion, and the vote required is a majority vote of those members present and voting, but with no less than 3 affirmative votes. I do have a recommendation drafted, which will be available to the commissioners if useful later on in discussion. So as I mentioned, petitioners are in the audience and are available for questions as well. Are there any questions for staff?
Maybe when you were going through the criteria, did you hit C, or did I just, yep, you sure, it's right there, okay. And we had B, oh, no, B we skipped. So it's A, C, E, all right, I don't know why I thought there's one that was missing, but I guess.
So
it's there.
I've only highlighted the criteria that we're
Right.
recommending. So I have A, C, E, F, and G.
Okay.
Yep.
I might have been looking at something else when you went right by C. Okay, thanks.
I've got a question. Could you please read F? You were indicating that that's one of the criteria that you're recommending. Would you please read it?
Certainly. And I will just preface that I am not a historic preservation expert, but we have had planning consultant support on the production of this particular staff report.
Yeah, just I want to hear it again, please.
Certainly, yes. The building is a utilitarian structure, meaning it was designed mainly for practical use rather than purely decorational. Despite that, it has a high level of integrity, with the original design and materials being well preserved, and the architectural significance as it's important as an example of Gothic revival style. Features like pointed arches, stained glass windows, tall proportions, light-filled spaces, and intricate details give it qualities usually associated with a more ornate architecture. Because of these features, it stands out as a rare and unique example of a functional building that also has artistic and architectural value.
Right now, may I make comments? Okay. So I think that probably that characteristic F is kind of misinterpreted maybe by the recommendation. The text that we have here indicates that it would have to be a fine example of utilitarian structure, including but not limited to farmhouses, gas stations, and other commercial structures which have a high level of integrity. So I think that the classification intended by the landmarking ordinance is trying to include commercial storefronts and buildings that would be like an automobile dealership or something of a historic nature in a community, a farmhouse, a schoolhouse, a gas station, and I don't think that I would call a major spiritual church and spiritual center merely utilitarian. I would call it a religious use and not utilitarian. I don't think that religious and utilitarian are the same definition. So while I really strongly support the nomination, I think this one particular feature is not really contributing to it. And I'm going to be interested to hear what the other members of the commission say when the final recommendation is made.
Thanks, Dennis. And I'll just mention so that we're all on the same page. When we get to the voting portion, we don't need to vote to say that all of these criteria have been met. We have to decide if we want nominate the property as local landmark, or consenting to it, I should say, but it's not specific to saying that we agree to all criteria.
Yes, and we know that. It only has to actually meet one criteria, but
Correct.
let's not add any misleading criteria.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, please.
I'll just add that I worked with my students, one of whom, Sophia Warner, is here in the audience. Hello. And Reverend Freeman and members and staff of the church to kind of draft this. And criterion F was not one that we had included. And so I do think I would support dropping criterion F, especially since it's not necessary, because technically it's not a utilitarian structure. And we don't need criterion F, so.
Thank you, Kate. And I guess I just want to clarify from staff too. So, because we're not going to vote on taking criteria F off, but I imagine that it can somehow be
So
labeled correctly, right?
Yeah, my understanding is that you will have, someone will make a motion, you'll have opportunity for discussion, and you can refine your recommendation to include or exclude certain criteria, and your findings of fact will reflect that. So if you were, and that can happen in discussion of the motion, as staff certainly respects and is open to that, the commission's findings of fact. Thank you for, yeah.
Well, I was just going to talk, I would be basically repeating you, but whoever moves to approve or disapprove this could leave out F and say, oh, I think there's a strong reason we should include C, and then we can talk about that. But we don't have to approve it just the way the staff recommended it.
Thank you. And I do, I don't know if I think that the petitioner and members of his team will be able to answer detailed questions in a way that I am unable to. So I do welcome further questions, of course, but just want to acknowledge that expertise in the room as well.
I would say just one other thing regarding how a motion might be phrased, which is that criterion A, if we can go back to the criterion A slide. I do think it would be good under criterion A to include the significance of this church as part of the social and political and religious heritage of the local community, and not just its significance for architecture. And I think the nomination supports that.
So, I mean, I can call the motion unless there's more discussion. The way that I would just word the motion generally is following the, do we find that the nomination meets one or more of the criteria for designation as a local landmark, and approve the application to designate the property as a local landmark. So I would request that we keep it, the motion general, but then add our caveats to what we've talked about with the recommendation, but that discussion happens after the motion. But we need to make sure we are settled on our motion.
That's correct, and I would welcome petitioner feedback before a motion is made, following the procedures.
Mm-hmm. Are we ready for our petitioner?
Oh, okay, good. Oh. I was sitting there waiting, I was like, okay. Take the stage center. Yes, ma'am. I have no problems doing that as a pastor. Amen. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Reverend Robert Freeman, the directing pastor of Urbana First United Methodist Church. I came here in 2017. And 2017, I was given the task of saving this precious church. Upon my arrival, the average worship was probably about 20 to 30 in worship. It was on the decline. But thanks be to the gracious one who given us great spirit and a great community to grow and thrive in, Urbana First United Methodist Church began to reclaim itself in the community. Started in 1836. It's the longest faith community in Champaign County. Judge Cunningham was one of the leaders of the church that made sure that it stayed vertical. It stayed upright. And out of that came Clark Lindsay, and out of that came Cunningham Children's Home, and out of that church came Bethel AME Church. What a significant gift this church has been to the community. We know that the church had 4 different phases. The first church was a log cabin, and they had to move out of the log cabin because the cows were licking the paint off the building. Amen. They moved into their second location, and they outgrew that with Judge Cunningham. And thus, they had to move into their third building, which was built with the bricks by the Sheldon Corporation Brick Company. Remember, you guys? They supplied all the bricks. They were members of the church, and that church burned down in 1926, which led to this church, and which was seeking historic preservation, which was built and dedicated in 1927. And this church was one of the first churches that had, as far as I understood, a wonderful stage presence. A lot of theater groups. The 50 Plus Club, Century Club, was founded at Urbana First Methodist Church because of the historical significance. You ask the average person, do you know of the Urbana First United Methodist Church? They said, is there a church named that in Urbana? Even some of our community leaders didn't realize that it was a church because the church had shrunken down into the shadows, not being significant to the community. And so people began to say, wait a minute. Thus, we were contacted by Jesse Owens Foundation to realize that Jesse Owens was a member of this church. 1948 is when he left, and his paintings are still there at the church. That's when we began to work with the City of Urbana Planning Commission back in 2019. Excuse me, yeah, my goodness, I've been here that long, amen. And we began to form a relationship and a friendship, which brought us to Kate and the University of Illinois Architecture Department, particularly Historical Significance Department, to say we have to begin to claim this church as a significant place in the city of Urbana. Then we began to do the digging, that you notice that everything is built around the church, amen? Because significantly, the Lincoln Square Mall would not be able to exist if it wasn't for First United Methodist Church giving up its parking spaces and its parsonage. The north side of the mall was at that time on church property, but the church thought enough to say we want to make a significant change and difference, and so they did. So Lincoln Square Mall stands because the church said we will agree to it. And some other things that we can talk about later. But we want to say thank you, the commission, for listening to us, for working with us, and for standing with us. But I can't say this was done by Pastor Bob. This was done by some great people, particularly Kate and Stacy. Thank you so much. I mean, this has culminated in about 2.5 years worth of work. And again, we want to thank you, Kate, and University of Illinois Architecture Department, and your students. But there also is one person I must give homage to and respect to, and that's Maynard Bridgeford. Maynard Bridgeford has our church archived. He was the one who started the archival program at the University of Illinois. And he was the one who tied the legacy between the social work that the church has done on justice, but also the work it has done to be a pillar of light to the city of Urbana. And we thank you again for your consideration. And I agree with Kate. Number 4 doesn't have to be an issue. I get it, Dennis. I thank you. I get it. Dennis, I know you. Amen.
You're not gonna lose the nomination, I don't
I
think.
know that. Exactly right, Dennis. We know that. But we want to thank you and as a commission for considering our church to be a historical site. And any other information you might need from us, we'd be more willing to supply. And thank you. In the midst of all of the staff shortages, we got it through. Amen. Any questions you have of me?
Thank you, Reverend.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Just a comment, really. I read the history outlined in the application
Yes.
supporting it, and it didn't occur to me, it didn't connect with me that the Sheldon family, which was such a huge donor of to build the third church, I guess it was,
Yes.
they were of course, it's a brick church. They were the people who owned the brick factory in
that correct?
Urbana, and having done the history of the Urbana, I know that the Sheldon Brickwork was very important commerce factory here in town. So I just thought you made the connection in my mind, which I hadn't created before.
Yeah.
And the very first building, which was lit by the cows,
Yes.
was between Race and Broadway.
That's right.
I wonder, what particular part of the city is currently on that location? Do you have any idea?
It's an empty parking lot.
It's an empty parking lot. Is that part of,
But what I understand, it's the parking space.
is it north of Main Street?
Pardon?
Would that be north of Main Street or south of Main Street?
It'd be north of Main Street.
North of Main Street, okay. All right.
North
Thank-
of Main Street.
thank
So
you.
generally, it has been generally in this area that the church has basically been in Urbana for all
Yeah.
these years.
Well, it's been situated at the, it is prominent location,
Yes,
current prominent location, and it's a beautiful building,
yes.
no doubt about that. And I congratulate you on finding ways to re-engenderize the congregational presence there.
Well, we thank you again for that, and just let you know that we still have living members from 1927,
Wow.
okay, who also were given verbal and also witnesses to the life and breath of the church as well. So
And it's very important to have an archive that's in good order. Boy, that does really help a lot.
that's
And
exactly
of course, you have a huge amount of material there, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, we do. Thanks to Maynard. Amen. Thank you all so much. And we just, again, just to close out, just to let you know that the church is now the facility. We call it the Urbana First Community Center. I hate to say that, but we are now fully functional 7 days a week. We have a 64 capacity childcare center that's it's interfaith, it's non-denominational. We have 3 churches, 4 dance groups, 2 theater companies, and we have 2 other African-American organizations that are housed there. So we're thriving, and we thank you all, and we appreciate you. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you all. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Reverend. And also, there's the opportunity, if there are other proponents, Kate or,
Come on, Kate, say something.
I'm not sure.
It was an absolute delight to work on this project with you, Reverend Freeman, and with my students, Sophia Warner and Dale Mize, who couldn't be here, and student Kay Lee, who also could not be here this evening. It was a great project for students to learn more about the city of Urbana, and we really appreciate your hospitality and your generosity in letting us into your wonderful archive room. And me still feeling as a relative newcomer to Urbana, this was a great project for me to get to know the city better. So we appreciate your partnership as well.
Thank you, Kate. And Sophia, do you want to say anything as a proponent?
Just go to the mic so they can hear you.
Do I just need to sign my name?
And make sure you push the green button.
Okay.
Stays on.
All right, got it. Is that right? Oh, now it's lit. Okay. Hi. I was one of Kate's students who got to work on this project, and it was a real treat. I had moved to Urbana in 2023, and so this was a big kind of like learning curve for me. I did research in the church's archive, which is very cool. If you get a chance to look at it, I would highly recommend. But I also got to do a lot of work at the Urbana Free Library. It's amazing kind of how much this church has been influential in kind of the broader Urbana community, right? You have the women's organization that was just incredibly active and kind of ended up meeting up with a lot of other kind of, it seems like Methodist women's organizations to do some really kind of fantastic work. You also had their kind of participation in the creation of the Cunningham Boys Home, or not Boys Home, what's it called? The Cunningham Children's Home. Sorry, it's been a while since I looked at this info. But it was just a real treat to learn more about kind of the history of this community and how integral the church has been over time. So yeah, I couldn't have enjoyed it more, and thank y'all for, you know, letting me be a part of it. And I hope it passes because I think it should be a landmark.
Thank you, Sophia. And I have to ask too, are there any opponents who want to present some evidence or ask questions of the petitioner? Okay, I have to ask. Or any others that have comments or questions from the commission?
I just want to say one thing, that I so appreciate that we're in this situation to be able to vote, to consider this and vote. I have been really dismayed, horrified by the demolition of University Place Church in Champaign, where there was an attempt to get it designated that failed. And if you've driven along South Wright and Springfield and seen the site, I heard it was coming. I knew it was coming. I knew people were trying to stop it. And then just to see the rubble on the site is just horrifying. So I felt extremely emotional about that. So I just appreciate that, all the care that's gone into putting us in the position to be able to consider something like this.
Thank you, David, for bringing that up. And actually, I was having a conversation with the Reverend before the meeting started just to talk about that, because the timing to me was interesting. Of course, it wasn't related. This has been in the works for a long time. But yes, I think several of us, as we heard what was going on, were paying attention, and as you said, even seeing now the rubble is quite devastating.
A lot of great things happened in that site over a long time, and it was a beautiful structure that just got, so like all of those elements were there, and yet here we are, right? So.
Right, yeah. So yes, so thank you for bringing that up, and then also to acknowledge that while that is very recent, this is by no means a reaction to that situation. This is a totally separate situation that has been in the works for a long time. Go ahead, Dennis.
You know, and I don't remember the map, but is the structure also in our downtown historic district? Yeah, see, that's another advantageous aspect of this nomination.
Any other comments or questions for the petitioner or proponents? Please.
Good evening. I'm Susan Apple, and I'm just representing, as you know, the Advocacy Committee of PACA, the Preservation and Conservation Association of Champaign County. And obviously, I have no complaints about this. It's a clear, logical nomination, and I'm very happy that we can support it with great enthusiasm. And I think, David, your comments about University Place helped to make clear why these major buildings that we all know really deserve to be acknowledged before difficulties hit that force their congregations into very difficult decisions. That one was extraordinarily complex, and there was just no easy way out. And so we lost it. I'm very happy we won't lose this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Any other questions, comments? Okay. I believe that we are ready to set the motion, but Kate, did you want to say something first?
No, I can wait for the motion and then we can discuss.
Okay, great. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm gonna keep the motion general, but then we will have a short discussion afterwards so that we can clarify what our recommendation is. If we have at least what I think 3 people we are told who vote positively. If we don't, then it's moot. We're not nominating. So we'll wait. We have 2 parts to this. First, we'll see if we have a nomination, and if we do, then we'll go to the clarifying the recommendation. So I'll read the proposed nomination, then I'll ask for someone to give me the the second motion. I'm losing my words now.
Are you gonna move? Or you want?
Yeah,
Historically, the chair doesn't do it, I think, but that's custom, isn't it?
I believe the chair should not make the motion.
Okay.
I've got a
But
question also.
Mr. Shepherd.
Would you like to? Okay, thank you.
And I've got a question also before we make a vote or whatever. In that Kate worked so hard on preparing the nomination, will she have to recuse herself as I did?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will recuse myself on a vote, but I think after there's a motion and when we have our discussion, I have some recommendations about modifications to the motion.
Yeah, I remember I couldn't even I couldn't even speak to the question of the, was it the Canaan Baptist Church when I spoke, so I'm sort of seeing how different it is this time around.
If there is a desire for me to step out of my commission role and go sit in the audience, I'm happy to do that.
I'm not going to say it. I actually support people who work on projects to be able to talk about them, even if they can't vote. But it wasn't allowed for me when I had my opportunity. So I'm just trying to clarify where we really are in the procedural aspect of it.
I actually thank you, Commissioner Roberts, for that clarifying point. I think maybe it would be best, Commissioner Holliday, if you could provide your feedback before discussion on the motion or before the motion is on the floor. We can consider that part of the public hearing process. I believe that would be most appropriate.
Okay, perfect. So the one thing I would say is under criterion A, I would not list only the architecture, but I would list the civic and religious significance of this institution under criterion A. I would eliminate criterion F, and I would eliminate criterion G, which also does not apply in this case. Criterion G is really for archaeological information, and we don't need F and G. They don't really apply, so all the other ones, I as they are here, I would keep intact with the addition under criterion A of religious civic significance. That would be my recommendation, and however you all handle that is up to you all.
Okay, thanks. And then, so yes, if we can ask that you recuse yourself.
I think you're welcome to sit at, you could stay.
Yeah, you just have to formally say that you're recusing yourself if you don't. Yeah, just formally.
Turn on your microphone.
Yeah, just formally say that you're recusing yourself from this before we move.
And I will recuse myself from the formal discussion, motion, and voting.
Could you remind me of your additions to go through A one more time?
Do you have your mic on?
Okay. Well, I would move that we approve the nomination of the First United Methodist Church landmarking because of our criteria that appear to be strong for this one. Criteria A, significant part of the architectural and civic, cultural, ethnic, political, and social heritage of the community. C, because of its architectural type, the integrity, E, because it's identifiable, the church at Lincoln Square. And those are the criteria I would include in the motion. And I think that's what I have to say. And that's open for amendments. If somebody else wants to add or drop another one.
Thank you, Trent. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so, good.
Right.
The descriptors from F and G are still there at the bottom, but should be also eliminated. Thank you. For your editing on the spot.
I thought that might help.
Great. I wasn't sure who was doing it, if it was like an AI thing or what. So.
The Reverend, maybe. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so hopefully we're clear on the motion and people can see the screen where it's been edited in real time. Thank you for that, Olivia. And so I'm going to ask if we have our motion, we have our second. So if you're in favor, say aye.
Discussion.
Wait.
Discussion of the motion
I thought we-
before we vote on it, I think.
Oh, yeah, we have to discuss first. Okay. Is there any more discussion on how it's been worded here? Or any other? Go ahead.
Well, okay, so it's a discussion, so I'm just saying that this is a very strong application. I think it's important that we recognize buildings of faith that have been important in our community, culturally, religiously, socially. This building has had a long history. It's gone through very many permutations. When the previous church building burned down and this one was rebuilt in its beautiful Gothic revival style, it became even more attractive and more important in the community as a focal point visually. Today, in modern architectural design, so many churches that are removed end up being kind of modernist expressions of our current era, and so little is being recreated architecturally in the cityscape in these more traditional styles, which I think is kind of a shame that we don't have more references to these historic styles. But this building is certainly emblematic of the Gothic Revival style, and it's in very excellent shape. And its position in the community has been very important historically. It's had many members of the community, of the congregation, who became extremely important socially and commercially in the city of Urbana and its history and long history. So even though we can't cite a significant architect in particular, this man, Maxwell, Mr. Maxwell, a student of the School of Architecture, he certainly did a very good job for the community and for the church. And it's exciting to find out that that this church is going to be recognized now in its due prominence as a historic landmark for the community.
And I think this is one of the most obvious yes votes that we have on landmark nominations. It's just, I mean, it's a prominent Urbana landmark, and it should be a landmark. And whether it's 1 criteria or 3 or 5, it's still definitely a landmark. And I'd be proud to vote for this. And I was on G, our archaeology one. I was confused about how the good things that have happened in that church were folded into that. So I'm glad we dropped that one, because I was confused by it.
To that point, we did remove G as a criteria, but the narrative portion of G could almost go to A and be folded in. I don't know if that's an official part of the application or not, but the fact that G is just a letter, so that the narrative portion can squarely belong to A.
I think that's a good point, and I agree, especially since we added the part about the civic and cultural heritage aspect.
Commissioners can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the criteria are set. So the narrative certainly could be moved to the discussion for why criteria A qualifies. Although in the findings of fact, I don't believe you have to. I don't believe you have to include the language of criteria G, because I think that would be perhaps misleading, if I'm understanding discussion correctly. But please tell me how to edit the recommendation as you best see fit.
Yeah, we're not asking to change the criteria of G. It's just the narrative portion that's underneath that's talking about, this is a safe space, or seen as a safe space. So that narrative under G, we think that belongs more appropriately under the criteria A, as it relates to civic and cultural heritage. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
So if it could just be added to that section.
I think that's a very good suggestion. It fulfills and elaborates why we find that criteria A is supported more specifically. And I think we find it interesting that the criteria ACE spells ACE. I think this church has aced the criteria.
other parts to the discussion anybody want to add?
I appreciate that addition in part because, I mean, there are churches, there are many types of churches, and the scope of what churches do is always larger than what most people think of as for a church. But I think in this case, particularly, the scope of impact has always exceeded the congregation. And so it's helpful to recognize those multiple scales for something like this, because when everyone's saying for the community or about the community, you can have benefited significantly from the fact of this institution, the activities there, the physical building, without ever having been a member of the congregation, right? So it's not just a niche that is doing that work like that. It's always had multiple scales, so I appreciate that pulling that from G into the remarks that pertain to A. I think that's highly valuable.
Any other discussion? All right, so we ready to call the vote? So I'm just gonna, if you agree to the motion, I'm gonna ask for you to say aye. If you don't agree for the nomination,
We probably shouldn't do it individually,
I think we do it all together.
do we?
By roll call.
Oh, is it by roll call? Oh, so would you like to roll call us then for it? It's been a while since we've done this.
That's right.
Thank you, Terry. Please, thanks. Keep us on track here.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Shepherd,
Yes.
Ms. Urban,
Aye.
Mr. Weiss,
Aye.
and Mr. Hayes.
Aye and yes.
That's
Thank you, Terry. Okay. Well, yeah, so I was getting the discussion and the vote backwards. I don't think we have any more discussion then, and we have the recommendation edited for us. So I think that we can close this portion. Is there anything else to say, though?
I think it passed.
It
It passed. Congratulations.
Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Second scoop, amen. Thank you all.
Thank you. That was really nice to be able to be part of that. Okay. So let me get my place here. We don't have any new business. I want to ask the commission here if there's any monitoring to report on existing historic properties. Do you have anything to report from your monitoring? Go ahead.
I walked by the Lincoln House on Illinois Street on the way over here, and it's still there. Looks all right. I think they finished their painting. The house on 305 West High Street looks good as usual. The Royer House on Busey in Oregon has been for sale for about a month. And the current owner is a great preservationist, and I hope the next owner, if there is one, will be the same. Yep, and that's what I've got to say about the ones that I'm supposed to be watching.
Thank you, Trent. Anybody else want to comment on your ones that you're monitoring? Go ahead, Dennis.
Really, I just wanted to comment that there was an open house at the Royer home, and Ilona and I went to walk through it. We had never really seen the interior, especially the upstairs. And it's a very handsome house. Basically, it's kind of an unusual house and on a really small lot. But the concern that I have, and it has nothing to do with like the exterior, is the fact that it's probably going to end up being, I mean, I think it's being pitched as a multi-student occupied home rather than a residence, which is sort of a shame. And one does wonder what reconfiguration that might occur within the building to accommodate the general desire of most landlords who have these multi-unit dwellings due to maximize the number of residents possible, whether rooms will be divided or reconfigured, and but maybe it'll result in a refurbishing of the basement, which is in pretty strange and bad condition. But apparently there were rooms down there that were rented to individuals without windows, which I don't think is possible today and under our current regulations. But anyway, I think it is a concern when you have a house of such an important individual, and it's also a landmark home. You worry about the interior, and we don't have regulations to guide the use or the preservation of the interior features. So, I'm just commenting that when one hears of such a famous building being up for sale and the marketing is not for a single residence, one kind of wonders what the fate will be. And it might be a concern for the HPC, but then on the other hand, we don't have any regulation over it.
Well, I can't remember that house when the last time it was owner occupied, or it was just a single family residence. I mean, it was for Royer, and I don't know what happened after that, but I mean, it's been a fraternity, and it's been a group living for students, and somewhere in there, probably the basement rooms and all kinds of crazy things with cutting rooms in half. But yeah, it's been empty for, I think this is the second year it's been empty, which is kind of scary too. So it is definitely a concern.
And Dennis, I wanted to ask or clarify, did you do that tour with the Champaign County Archives? I believe they have started recently doing some historical tours.
Yeah, I did both. We were just there. It was an open house established by the realtor. So we went to the open house. But I had been to the historic tour as well, which happened a couple, I don't know, 2 months ago or something. So it was, but we were not allowed to see the upstairs or the basement at that tour. So that's why we went back to look at it, to see more about the house. You know, the upstairs is like rather fascinating, and it's a very unusually designed home, I would say, too. So a challenge for anybody.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, and I don't know where to insert this in, but that is something that at some point we should engage more with the library, with the Urbana Free Library, with the Champaign County Archives, because they have started these tours that are very relevant to us. And I've talked with them about it, that we are very interested, or hopefully we are interested in potentially, partnering with them or seeing which tours they're going to be doing in the future so that we can participate or help communicate it to the public. Okay, any other monitoring that people want to mention? Okay.
I will.
Good.
Back on the house on Weber Street. I'm not real good on the names of all these ones, but the owner occupant of it, Kathleen, I got in touch with her when we had that presentation in the spring or summer about the theory of it being the toy house, and then I ended up giving her a recommendation of a contractor. So I think she's had good intentions, but just not been able to find people to work. And I think she's finally on track on that, so we're going to probably next year see some real improvement in the condition there, which has been a concern. So that pleases me.
And that's the Victorian Cottage? Yes.
Thank you for following up with her. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Olivia, did you want to give a staff report?
Yes, I have a staff report for you all this evening. So just an update on the CLG grant that we received, and you all had the pleasure of hearing Adeline Evans' presentation in August, I believe. This is just the beginning of the update. I will provide more detail by email. So as you all know, the grant application was submitted on November 18th of 2024. And our intern, there was processing that happened after that. Our intern actually started working with us June through August of 2025. However, after some forensic accounting at the department side, our grant was not actually executed until September 15th of this year, meaning that the work that Adeline had produced is no longer eligible for the grant. There's more information that I can provide. I'm sorry that this is not the best news, and I certainly will follow up. I know Dr. Holliday has specifically provided a lot of guidance on this to date, but I just want to let you know that we are working internally to find a resolution, pivot, take advantage of this opportunity. We certainly are not going to we'll move forward with all the work that Adeline has prepared for us. It's just that there's some administrative work that needs to take place in order for us to really to get this over the finish line. I'm welcome to answer any questions, although quite frankly, I'm getting up to speed on this in real time, so I might not be able to answer your questions, but I can certainly follow up.
I may have an explanation for that that's helpful.
Okay, let's find time after.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. But and I'll certainly provide an update as it evolves. The quarterly reporting, if we were to move forward with a new project, for example, although that might not be relevant, we'll see, but the quarterly reporting date would be January 15th of 2026, and we would be responsible for providing reports in Amplifund within 15 days after that January 15th date. So we have some time theoretically to pivot, take advantage as needed, but more information to come. I did also want to provide an update on the, or sort of a staff comment on the honorary street naming project. Just to be absolutely clear and there has been no directive by staff, the City Council, nor the administration for the Historic Preservation Commission to develop a plan for this. It's certainly, the commissioner's input is certainly welcome. Your interest and insights are certainly valued, as with the public input. It's just, there has been no formal directive. I just want to make sure that that's clear. And I would love to work with the commissioners to find a way to incorporate it in the agenda moving forward for discussion, perhaps a study session. But just to be clear, tonight was a presentation by the public for consideration. Yeah, I'd love to continue having conversations on this and see how staff can support. There would likely need to be a staff working group assembled between members of Public Works, the Planning Department, and others, just because we would be potentially engaging in the right-of-way. And so there are many things to consider, but happy to find time on the agenda for this group to continue the valuable conversation.
Well, and I do want to comment on that because, I mean, it was really empowering to have so many community members come here and state their rationale for why these significant individuals should perhaps have or be part of this honorary street naming. It's difficult for us, I think, on this Historic Preservation Commission because we've talked about in the past, our own plan is severely outdated. And we want to correct that. And it unfortunately has been delayed, and for a number of reasons. But as we envision ourselves and as we've had study sessions about it, it expands into this concept of community, of adaptive reuse, of helping to create that urban fabric, if you will. And so, you know, these community members bringing up, you know, honorary streets, while we have focused primarily on buildings and, you know, maybe that is only what we're allowed to do, I don't know, but we are severely outdated with our own plan, and it's perhaps, you know, this is coming ahead of any updates that we have, but perhaps, you know, we will in the future have this expanded vision or mission. So I don't want to discount what they said. I think that our commission does have a place. I'm glad to hear, though, from you of how that would work and how we could work with the other commissioners from other commissions, because I don't think it's all us at all by any means, but I think that we perhaps have a seat at the table in the discussion.
Could I make an Angela, I think you're totally right. And I think the Historic Preservation Commission needs to realize that we have a certain function to meet criteria for landmarking and such, but it doesn't limit us from having a voice and being interested in softer ways of historic preservation, softer ways of creating community historic appreciation. And if these street naming things, I mean, we don't have any criteria for it. It hasn't been adopted as a program for the community like it has been for Champaign. And I think because Champaign is doing it so profusely, we would have to have something structured through Public Works, and the city council would have to approve, you know, purchasing these signs or what. They don't cost that much. They can whip them off right in our own Public Works department. But doing outreach of a certain kind that's more community-centered, I think is so important, because it helps to build the fact that historic appreciation is part of the culture of Urbana. And just like the Arts Commission invents all kinds of programs to be integrated into the community, they can show films, they can have posters in the windows, they can have parades, they can hold celebrations. And we have the same right to create our own agenda to meet the goals in the modern day and time in the community that we have. And we're not just here as some kind of academic association. And I think that I totally appreciate your direction on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you. I agree with what you said. Did you want to say something, Trent?
Well, just when I was kind of wondering why we were involved in the process, if there is one, of putting someone's name on an existing street. And it just kind of seemed to me it should be something that starts with city council to develop a program for this. And then when it deals with the history of the town, I can see how we would be part of that decision-making or have some input on it. But I personally can't see with the framework we have now, how we can just launch into something like this with no legal basis to it. So I'd say it needs work.
I think it would be an excellent topic for a study session with some, I realize there's an understaffing at the moment, but I also feel like there's need for some research from city staff about what options already exist for commemoration of important citizens in public space, whether it's a historic marker, whether placed by the city, a historic marker placed by a nonprofit, whether it is a street name topper, whether it's a renamed street, whether it's a renamed public space, right? So the menu of options that exist and what commissions and staff are responsible for making decisions about those. I think that having that kind of information in hand would be helpful to share with citizens who want public commemoration, but it seems to be unclear, I think, to a lot of folks, who is responsible for making those decisions and what this city has in place as an existing program and what would need to be invented. So I feel like a study session where we had some information in order to think through that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, I hear that. I completely agree. I believe that there has been some discussion of this at City Council and public hearing as well. But I think then there was a desire for members of the community to continue that input, and so they were directed to this body for public input by council members. So I know it's an evolving conversation across many public bodies and groups, but there's certainly a need for some staff research to help guide those conversations. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was my understanding too, from what our audience said, was that they've already gone to city council. And so then I guess my question, my functioning question is, where do we go from here then? Study session, but we need to be able to convey this information to the city council on what role we see ourselves playing.
Yeah, I think so. The staff can help convey that to, of course, our city administrator, and then, of course, to the council members. And I also believe, I believe the city council would have to formally direct this body to take action. I am still learning and new, but I'm pretty sure. So unless I correct myself at a later date, that is my understanding.
I'm not familiar with the entire city code, but I'll bet that there is a body besides this one that's responsible for street names.
Oh, yes, and staff would absolutely have to be involved. But I like this idea of a menu of options because, we're also a tree city. Perhaps there's an opportunity for commemorating folks with a living memorial as well in the form of a tree. I don't know. There's so many ways this conversation could move forward, and I'm really appreciative that the commissioners here are open and willing to have these conversations. Yeah.
Just a quick question. In addition to city council, have the residents gone to any other committee or commissions, or are they planning on going to other ones? I mean, we don't have to answer the question right now, but if the city has a history of who they've presented to, I mean, that I would imagine those commissions have similar questions that we would have.
Yeah, my understanding is to date it's been public input for council, and then folks were directed to this meeting on November 5th, but that meeting was canceled, so they came. Then our office helped direct them to the reschedule, or the next scheduled meeting, which was tonight. And I think in our research we can certainly see which other bodies have been presented to, if any, or in the future. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thanks. Did you have any other part of the staff report? Is that the end?
That concludes the staff report. I do have an announcement, though.
Yes, absolutely. Let me see where we are. Oh, okay, yes. So, yes, go ahead with your announcement, please.
So, we've been talking about how the department is severely short-staffed. I am here in my capacity as director, but tonight I'd like to introduce you all to our very newly hired Planner 2, Imiru C. He's sitting behind me. So Imiru joins us from St. Paul, Minnesota. He has a master's from Minnesota State University in urban planning and several years of work experience in the field. And I think is very new to Urbana. It's maybe been a week here as a resident, but we're very happy to have him in the department, and we're currently onboarding him, so you may see him at future meetings or engagements, but just wanted to share the news and introduce you all.
Well, hi.
It isn't always as snowy and cold in Urbana as it is in St. Paul, Minnesota. So this is unusual for us.
Welcome, Amaru, and we look forward to working with you.
I think Imiru's brought the snow from Minneapolis or St. Paul to us here in Urbana. Thank you. That concludes my announcement.
Thank you, Olivia. That actually brings us to the close of our meeting. We will now adjourn this public meeting at 8:45 p.m. No business will be discussed after this meeting is adjourned. And thank you all so much for coming.